Hi muckers, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I hope you're all doing very well. I'm very excited to be sitting down here at my normal little background. I was in Tennessee for the last couple days and I had genuinely the best time in the entire world. If you want to see all the nitty gritty of the trip, I have my Muckers Finsta, which will be pinned down below. It's like a private Instagram account. If you go and request to follow, I'll accept you on there. I was live posting every day and they're just so... It was a big culture shock going out to Tennessee, but I really enjoyed it. But anyways, that's not what today's video is about. It is about the fact that the cancelled podcast has Brooke back again. Now, we knew this was going to happen. We knew that Tana Mojo had been saying for a while that Brooke will be back. There's no bad blood or whatever, which is ironic because Brooke was on TikTok saying that yes, her and Tana were fighting. So I think they were both trying to just mask and kind of keep the situation at a minimum because, as we've talked about, they have the cancelled tour starting in a couple days. And, you know, they're going on this big USA tour together where they are taking the podcast on the run. And it was a really not so great thing that they, you know, took a long time off the podcast and people didn't even know if they were friends, considering ticket holders are waiting to know if the show's happening or not. So it was predictable that they were going to do an episode together before the show. I do think the show is still going to be incredibly awkward, and I think there's going to be a weirdness in the air about Brooke being there, considering that there has been this big in-between time where they both seemingly weren't friends and seemingly were shading each other, and Tana had Paige on the podcast and Brooke's off, you know, doing all these shady little likes and posts about Tana. So it's going to be a little weird transition in the tour. And like I said, I have tickets for the New York show. I'm not going to go anymore, but there's a lot of people online who are saying that they don't want to go to the show anymore and refunds, but obviously there's not refunds. I don't know. It's not a great moment right now for the canceled podcast. And then we have Tana Mojo in her previous episode saying that she wants to kind of change the canceled podcast into less of shit talking people and more so talking about important world issues, which is like, what's the tour going to look like then? Because the tour is literally, from their promotion of it, stories that are so intense that they can't tell them on the podcast about shit talking people. So they can't rebrand everything. Also, final points before we get into this. I think it's ironic to have Brooke on the podcast saying that she was taking this time to learn and grow whenever it is confirmed that Brooke was, you know, unfollowing and blocking creators that were calling her out. I think that it's an inaccurate portrayal of what's happening. I also think that Tana Mojo wearing a shirt that says "Only God can cancel me" is an incredibly weird taste. I'm not saying it's offensive. I'm just saying it's weird. Like, it's really weird to wear a top like this. Anyways, let's get into it. The episode is called Brooke is Back on the Cancel Podcast. We're going to watch the first section when they address what happened and all this. Let's get into it. It's quite weird. Okay, everyone, we are approaching the end of Hot Girl Summer, and we are entering a little bit of the fall-autumn season now, when a lot of us start to feel a little bit lonely. But that's okay, because today's video is sponsored by Adam and Eve. Now, Adam and Eve have been the longest supporter of this YouTube channel. And by the way, the Muckers supporting this deal and Adam and Eve coming back and supporting are the biggest reason I get to continue doing this as a job. So thank you to everyone involved. But you know that Adam and Eve, we've been with them now for like 4 years. And we have a great deal with them, which is if you go on adamandeve.com and use code ADAM50, you will get 50% off one item and free shipping in the US and Canada, shipping everywhere else for us, international babes as well, by the way. Now, there's so many things on their website. If you're in a relationship, if you're still in your hot girl summer, if we're continuing that, if you're single, in a relationship, whatever you're looking for, they have a lot of self-care things. They have a lot of fun games. They have things for people in relationships. Like I said, if you're single, they have just... oh my God, they have everything over there. And if you're not happy with your product, which you will be, and again, you can literally just read through the comments on one of these sponsor videos we do. Like, people will always say that they use them, they come back, the people will be like, it's my 4th year using the code. They have 90-day no hassle return. They have 24/7 customer service, and a big part of their proceeds goes to helping fighting the spread of HIV all around the world, which is a big reason as well that I'm just really proud to stand behind them. Over 50 years in the game, really reliable. I know that I don't need to sell this deal because it really does sell itself. I mean, half off one item and free shipping in the US and Canada. But I always like doing the full reminder. Again, thank you Muckers for supporting this deal. Thank you Adam and Eve for continuing to come back. That is Adam50 on adamandeve.com for 50% off one item, free shipping in the US and Canada. Who said we can't have a hot girl fall or a hot girl winter? It's an all-year thing. On with the video.
Welcome back to the Canceled Podcast. I'm like, do you see her? See, there she is, y'all.
Yeah, squash the rumors. I am not yet kicked off the Canceled Podcast.
Dude, so first of all, I was just in Europe.
Again, I really don't understand, not to be like a nitpicky bitch, but like I really don't understand why Tana would wear a shirt like this. Only God can cancel me, when the full topic at hand is about Brooke, but both of them getting called out for racism.
A couple days ago, I shot an episode with Paige and Amari, and I said everything that I'm about to re-say again. But then obviously I flew home, and I was like, why am I going to put out another episode that's just going to like fuel these rumors more and like get a bunch more hate?
People
and like
think we're really beefing.
I mean, obviously that just comes with this whole thing, you know, that people think a bunch of that's untrue. Mm-hmm. But this is definitely one of the heights of that in my entire life. Like just opening my whole phone and every single thing I read about me, you, and us in this podcast just being like the furthest possible thing from the truth. And I can like re-say all of that. I mean, I was gonna just post that episode, but I felt like talking about it with Paige was kind of like gonna cause the same problem as it did last week.
Yeah, we've had a little bit of issues with Paige. Paige is getting really badly bullied.
It's really frustrating to me because it's like, I thought in the previous episode that I made what I was saying abundantly clear, and not to go like all third person narcissist on you. When has Tana Mojo ever said anything and made it abundantly clear and it didn't get misconstrued and people completely understood her point and yada yada? Like,
I make some bad points sometimes too.
Hey, but all I was trying to say in that episode was I'm giving Brooke the week. Like I want Brooke to have the week. Obviously. Yeah. So then Paige subbed in for that episode and all of the fucking comments are, we want Brooke, you're replacing Brooke, you just jumped ship so fast, yada, yada, yada. And it was literally just one episode.
Yeah, and I also want to be clear, it wasn't because the way it sounded was almost like Brooke needs a second, or needs a week. Like, I just wanted to really...
This is already a very intense start to this episode. Like, really, really, really intense. I mean, we're not off to the greatest start right now, I will be honest.
Intake the situation and understand what was happening. And it just didn't feel appropriate for me to sit down on the couch so soon.
I said this in the episode that we shot, and I'll probably keep referencing that, but I'm just, reiterating how I've been feeling. And... call me the fucking villain for saying this, okay? People might not like what I'm going to say right now, but I think that the situation was very much damned if you do, damned if you don't. Like, if you and I sat down and filmed an episode and it went out and we were just on the couch talking about anything at all.
Yeah, I think it would have been really distasteful.
So angry.
This is something that is really bothering me about this. Now, I haven't watched this entire thing, but I've seen a couple clips on TikTok, and there's a really clear... reiteration over and over again from Tana about how they were wronged in the last couple of weeks. And it's inherently you are making yourself the one that was victimized in all this. And sure, saying damned if you do, damned if you don't may be true, but the things that she gave were, if we sat on the podcast and just talked as normal, or if I filmed with someone else, yeah, but in neither of those are you addressing what actually happened. So you're damned if you do, damned if you don't, because you're ignoring it. So I don't understand how they're immediately kind of setting it off as making themselves victims. And I know that that's such a common thing for people to say, oh, you're making yourself the victim. But let me ask the audience, you're immediately opening this with, we were just damned if we do, damned if we don't in this entire thing.
Get that. So then it's you film with Paige and people are mad. It was just one of those where I felt
Yeah, and we should clarify beforehand. Tana and I, obviously, we were communicating about it. And I told her, I'm listen, I understand you need to say that what I said was wrong. Of course, because it was so wrong.
And I even said in it, I'm not coming at this from a holier-than-thou perspective.
Yeah.
I'm not sitting here with the gavel saying, you know what I mean? That I get to condemn anyone. But it's I don't know, people just took it that way and...
I know. It was just, honestly, it was a lot of people coming from a lot of different directions, rightfully so, but I did, it's a frustrating feeling to feel, so misunderstood, especially, our dynamic.
I just want to say no one's getting fucking canceled off the Canceled Podcast, and I have said this and will always say this. I truly believe that this podcast has amassed the success that it amassed because of our dynamic. That, and forgive me, it's not a word police, but our dynamic is irrecreatable. And I am not a word. And I'm
but there is a word for that. So we got to find it.
And we could, but I just think it's irrecreatable.
I think it's irreplaceable. Wait.
Yes, but like it couldn't be recreated with any other two people.
Okay.
And I'm so well aware of how special that is. And what you and I have been through together, on and off camera, on and off stage, just in life in general, I think most people would fucking blow up in flames. And I think we have somehow come out of it with the strongest trauma bond, sister.
Like, I don't understand how... What? Like, everything so far on this genuinely has been how they've been done wrong or how they're so strong. And it's like such a weird approach. Like, it's not great. It's not great. And also, while wearing this top, not a good look.
Money can buy. And I wish so badly that people didn't do what they do to our relationship online, because it is very highly damaging.
It's hard
to read a million things that aren't true about how, like, you know what I mean?
It's weird it's so strange because you almost start to intake it and it like starts to become true, because it's like if I'm reading 1,000 comments that say like Tana hates Brooke, all of a sudden I'm like, oh my God, Tana hates Brooke.
Yeah. And it's like, it's not natural. This isn't something that like most it's not
people
that I'm bitching about
through.
it, because it comes with fame, it comes with money, it comes with this shit. I understand that, but I can also recognize that sometimes that is emotionally incredibly difficult to handle.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was just one episode, and then
so obsessed with none of this having to do with why the podcast went that way, why these things have happened to them, why they feel this way. I'm so obsessed with them completely ignoring the real reality of what's going on. And I'm so obsessed with Tana being the one that had to sit down in the podcast and address why what Brooke did was wrong, rather than Brooke on the podcast do that. Great job, girls.
I had to fuck off for a second. Like, and I'm really sorry shit's late, but it was that or the ward, folks.
I feel bad that I kind of dragged you back into it, because obviously you've done your whole, you've come back from like all of your scandals and cancellations and stuff, and I feel like I kind of like
I've made apology videos for my apology videos, and I did
that too. Yes.
And I am fine with doing that for the rest of my life. For everything I have ever said or done wrong, I have apologized for and like will continue to. So there's no blame towards you. Like, those are still my actions. It's just like,
right. I don't know.
Sorry, why am I so overexposed? Can I come back? Hold on. I'm trying to I look like James Charles flashback Mary over here. My goodness, did you see that? Woo!
Obviously hi
sisters.
Be accountable. I know how horrible it was. You know what I mean? Like, and I knew how horrible it was even before it, blew up in my face. But obviously it's like a just shitty situation, and I felt bad that so many people were hurt by it. But also, like, you know what? Like, I needed to be held accountable. And
again, I don't. Brooke there is acknowledging that she knew all of this was going to come out. Like, she said that she knew about all this before it came out. So she was like, I don't understand these people who like kind of think that being honest will help their case in the long run, because like you're openly admitting there that you already knew that all this shit was out there, but you were just waiting for it to, waiting for the last chance you had to like not address it. You know what I mean? Like, it just shows you're inauthentic. If you'd seen or knew that this stuff was out there, you'd want to address it immediately. If one person knows or a million people know, but that's not the case. It's until it starts affecting your brand and your paycheck.
How do I say this? Well, I guess what I'm wanting to say is like, I'm fucking proud of you. I think that you like stood at the forefront of all of this, and you are willing to continue to, and you understand that there will be a lot of people that won't forgive you, but you also will never stop trying. And
that's not true though. Again, she was unfollowing and blocking creators that were calling her out, myself included. So like, I have a genuine case study as she was going out of her way to unfollow people that were literally just talking about this. So that is not her being at the forefront or whatever. No, that's lies. And I know that Tana has to say this in order to keep the podcast, you know, running and blah, 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 blah. They have the tour coming up. But it's just not realistic and it's not truthful.
Yeah,
I appreciate that.
I spoke about it a little bit on TikTok, but like there is like honestly a typical like PR formula, obviously, for this kind of situation.
I think this is being a more human.
I did feel like really remorseful, and like it sucks that like, you know, I put out my first apology and it was like so hyper emotional, and I pretty much said all the wrong things, you know what I mean? But it was like, that was truly like my natural reaction, and like everything that has come in after that is just like how it's really happened for me. But I don't know, like it didn't make sense for me to just like ignore, like I couldn't have ignored it because it was like, I
See, this is what I don't understand. She said it wouldn't have made sense for me to ignore it, but she literally a couple minutes before this acknowledged that this stuff has been out there for a while. So you were ignoring it back then, but you just said that you couldn't ignore this. This is why these people just cannot, like, they don't keep their story straight. What is it?
I feel so much shame over that already, and I have felt shame over that. And
I just wish they'd be honest.
Something that's new to me. I've known about them. You know what I mean? So it made me feel like just horrible.
Like,
and I wanted to make sure that people knew. And like, of course I know like how much I've changed and how much like my thought processes like have changed since I've, you know, grown up and got away from, you know, Arizona and my family and stuff. And like, I can't expect everybody else to know that, but
I said this on the podcast with Paige, but like I went to your apartment a couple weeks ago and there was a stack of books up to the size of my head on you continuing to want to do research, and I'm seeing all of the active things you're doing behind the scenes. So I know that. And like I said in the last episode, the Brooke that I have known is not that person, but acknowledge.
That's a first we've ever heard of someone defending someone in a racism scandal. I went into their apartment and there were books stacked up to here. That's a first.
There's always more growth to be done is beautiful. And
I think sometimes too, there's like a lot of shame sometimes, like to be ignorant. Like sometimes people don't want to ask questions and stuff because they feel like it's like, oh, you're too old to not know this. But like obviously like there, you know, I was a Republican or whatever. Like I didn't know anything about politics until I was like an adult, you know what I mean? I didn't know anything about what I was talking about, but I wanted people to think I knew what I was talking about.
Me every day.
And that's the thing. It's like, it comes down like to what, like a common theme on Canceled anyway, is just like my need for validation and attention and people to think I'm smart and you know what I mean? So like that was like kind of what it all stemmed from. And like, I didn't just now start doing the work, you know what I mean? I've learned so much like in the time, especially since I've been in LA, because obviously like I'm ashamed that it took me that long. And like, I was like an adult when I really started to like open my, like, or understand everybody's different perspectives, but I did. And so, you know, that's just the honest truth.
Well, listen, again, I feel like I have said all of this, but I will always love you. And I think that everything I've seen off camera, I think that you are taking the proper steps and not trying to just flaunt it for TikTok and the podcast as well, which I really respect. And I'm excited to have you back on this couch. And I think had we done it when I sat down with Paige, that would have been a whole different Armageddon. And I also just have a lot to say about the hate towards Paige and women in general on the internet right now in a second, and my thoughts on that and some things that I feel like I've learned in the past couple weeks that I don't necessarily think I was.
Hold on. I did see this upcoming clip on TikTok where Tana talks about the hate that women get online, like Tana and Brooke. And I'm like, you're equating you two being called out for racism to just women getting hate. Like you're hiding the fact that people are giving you criticism for being racist, as in people just hate women. Like, how are you continuously victimizing yourself in this? What the fuck?
I was thinking about before all of this, but I'm just happy to have you back on this couch. And
I'm happy to be back. And I just want to there's no, I said this on TikTok also, but like, there's no definitive end. Like there's no like time when you just know everything that you know. So obviously there's things like I'm going to continue learning down the line, and I have learned, and you know what I mean? It's like, there's always going to be more. And I, of course, I'm doing it. And again, like you said, I don't want it to to seem like I'm doing it because I got caught or because I got canceled. Like, I really.
Again, that's fine. This will be the last time I'll harp on about it. But why would you openly admit that you knew that these things were out there and you didn't address them beforehand?
Truly, like, I had like so many people who were so helpful to me and like explained their experiences like from their end and stuff, and it was eye-opening. It was like, it was special, and I don't know, I do feel like there's a lot that I've learned from this situation, and it makes me think very, very differently.
And we are more than friends.
We are friends.
God damn it. It's also just, I was saying this to Paige as well, but even just on the level of hate that she received for sitting in on one episode on her character when like she is a good person and always has been, and we have
she just has to show, you know what I mean? She just has to do what she has to do. Like, it wasn't even...
But even like coming at her like she's like a fame monster. Like, if she wanted the fucking fame, she would have gotten it year one. Like, she's been working for me behind the scenes for 3 years. And anyone who knows her knows she's not that kind of person.
And Paige is the funniest, smartest like person literally alive. I love Paige so much.
She's never done a wrong thing in her life.
It was kind of frustrating too because, you know, it was like us against each other. Like, people were kind of like trying to pin us against each other, or like make it seem like we didn't like each other. Paige and I are so close. Like,
I was also saying, like, and I feel like I've been doing this a lot lately, but like, think about when George and Mike and Logan had that huge fallout. No one's attacking people's looks. No one's like coming at people's necks like that. Like, it's just like, even the amount of shit, like, Brooke, I opened my DMs one day and there were like 100 DMs that were like, you kicked Brooke off the podcast, that's why you're fatter than she is. Or like, I'm going through my fucking For You page and it's like, well, now that everyone's hating on Brooke, we can say we hate slick back buns. And it looks like, and it's like, this is not what the conversation is about. And this.
It's interesting that Tana says this is not what the conversation is about, but this has been the entire conversation they've had on this podcast thus far. It's ironic to say that this is not what the conversation is, yet they haven't addressed really the reason why Brooke has been gone. Brooke has basically said fuck all. Tana has really dominantly taken this conversation in terms of defending herself and victimizing herself and Brooke. So it's ironic to say that this is not what the conversation is, implying it should be about racism, whenever this is not what the conversation that this is about. So what now?
Would never fucking happen if we were two men. And like, even just saying all this shit.
Again, while there may be parts of that are true, I don't really appreciate the fact that you are disguising getting backlash for being racist towards it's because I'm a woman.
Redhead bitch right now on TikTok. It's like, once a proper take on someone's wrongdoing has gone viral, or 10 proper takes.
It invites everybody to do just whatever they want.
And it opens these doors for so much hate that no longer has anything to do with what the real conversation was about. And it's so many people like bandwagoning shit just to bandwagon shit. And it's like, I've never had disdain for it. I think I've been a part of that problem up until right now.
So that's what I was just going to say. I was like, because I experienced it obviously with my Clinton series, because obviously I do a 14-part series. It gets like 200 million views, and now there's tens of thousands of videos about how he's hideous and he has shark teeth or like like whatever it is. But it's like, it's horrible because it's like that wasn't the point and that wasn't the problem. And
even
as much
with,
as
the Alyssa shit, like, I had my take. I still stand by those beliefs. Once everyone else has had, there's been a...
This is a masterclass in changing the topic. Like, again, I'm impressed, actually, at how much they were able to change this topic from Brooke's racism to, oh my God, everyone bandwagons hating on us.
Viral take or 10 about it. Like, there's just a point where I'm just like, even with like the Blake Lively shit, it's like, Blake Lively's obviously wrong as fuck. Like, I like your bump. That shit made me need a bump. Like, that shit was so fucking awful. Sorry, bad cocaine joke. Kidding. Not on cocaine.
Wait, I didn't get it at first. Did you see him?
It was just a joke. But like, it's like, eventually Blake is either going to see these takes or not. And like, just the way society isn't moving on with like hate to women as of late.
I know, but I also don't want to make it like we are the victims because, well, especially.
Isn't it crazy that Brooke was the one that was able to change that back to realizing how that sounded? Tana has been yapping this entire podcast, which is fine, right? But in a way of victimizing her and Brooke, and I'm so glad one of them, it being Brooke, who this is about, is like, oh, we're not victimizing ourselves, because, oh my God, this entire thing has been a masterclass in changing the goddamn topic, which is quite impressive and honestly makes sense as to why they're doing it, to kind of change the narrative. But like, oh my God, do I think that the media is incredibly harsh on women? Yes. Do I think the media is misogynistic? Yes. Do I think in turn people specifically online treat women differently than they treat men? Abso-fucking-lutely. Do I think though that people giving criticism to Brooke and Tana for being racist means that they're misogynistic? No.
I know, but I'm just to be clear.
Yeah.
I know that I am not the victim in this situation.
I'm not saying that. I'm really not saying that. I think
But it is, things happen differently for men than they do for women.
I just don't want to be a part of it.
And that's true, but I'm just saying the phrasing that Tana has done so far has all been relating to the Brooke situation. I just want to clarify that.
We have been a part of the bigger problem, so that's a conversation to have. We were being the accountability police.
Yeah.
We were just really going high and mighty, just canceling people left and right.
Two wrongs don't make a right. Like, I do still think all of those things are true. In the episode with Paige, I essentially said, like, this podcast reaches so many people to the point that I do want to recognize that and use it for better.
Yeah.
And people took that and ran like, no, we just want to hear about your lives. Like, don't become some woke podcast, some this, some that. That's not what I'm saying. I just think they don't
want to hear that from us, but it is like, we have like a cool opportunity because like we reach so many girls, like, I mean, obviously more than just girls, but like,
young girls, gays and theys, young people.
And it's like, with that level of influence, like we should be trying to at least like do something right.
Better. And
not be bullies.
I think it's like expressing things that happen to you or commenting on some wrongdoing, okay. But I think that, in my opinion, we definitely teetered over the line, especially with the like Alyssa and Clinton shit.
Yeah.
And I want to dial it back a bit. And that was kind of my point in the Paige episode. And people took it as like, this is going to be the new CNN. And obviously that's not what I meant.
It does bother me. Like, and I, like, who is it? Brett Newstrom. He honestly had a good take about it. It's like these girls just bully. And it's like, I don't feel like anyone who actually watches Canceled, I don't think that that's what they would take from it. Cause like it really hasn't been.
It's just
it's not like we
viral
just get on
clips.
here. That's not the concept of the Canceled podcast. We don't just get on here and cancel people. Yes, it has happened a couple times lately and they've been big ones. Mm-hmm. Okay. But it's never been the nature of our show. And it's not going to be in the future. We're not like, I don't think we're like just these mean girls. But to your point, if someone does me like really fucking dirty or does me wrong, I'm going to talk about like, I have a microphone in front of me once a week.
I just think that there's like, I know my character. I know I'm not a fucking mean girl to anyone that I ever come across in my life ever, but I can see how trying to be the cancellation police could be misconstrued as that. And it's not that I'm changing the entire format of this show, but I'm definitely going to dial it back and use it for a little more good and like be more mindful of lobbying hate.
I just also think like we have more potential than that. Like I don't think we have to like
rely on that.
Yeah, come for people to have an entertaining show, and I think that like that's something that we've learned. And also,
or
like
maybe we do, and they can say it sucks, and we can go fuck ourselves.
We are not promising that we're never going to do that again. Because if somebody really does me dirty, I am coming on here and I am doing exactly what I've done to others. But
I think I'm just
maybe not like that serious though.
Yeah. Not that serious.
There's something to be said about weaponizing our audience too. We have millions and millions of people who listen, and it is like it's not the same as like talking.
Okay, well, I think that this conversation that they're having right now is probably very important to have. I don't know why my phone is going crazy. Oh, it's my mom messaging me good night. Hold on, let me text my mom good night really quickly. All right, I'm gonna say love you, good night. Sorry, had to text my mommy good night. All right. I think that it's important that they had this conversation about, everything that is, they referenced in the previous episode, right, about the changing of the Cancel podcast and that they don't want to use it to lobby hate was their words, and they don't want to cancel people, and they realize now that they have so many people that are watching them that, you know, they want to, you know, use it for good and talk about world issues. And I think the way that Tana phrased it was very much so like a PR, like stressing out. And obviously they're re-clarifying that now to kind of mean something more like, we'll do 50-50 and we'll talk about important things and also do what we normally do. Because again, the Cancel podcast works because it's like this debrief after a night out where you're talking shit and, you know, everyone talks shit and everyone, you know, so it's a relatable podcast. So I think them clarifying this was probably good for the long run, because if they just came back and were like talking shit, people would be like, oh, but didn't you say that we're going to be talking about, you know what I mean?
Talking shit with your friends. You know what I mean? It's not. Sometimes it feels that way, and that's how we get ourselves in this trouble. But like it does, like I truly did feel bad about like the amount of hate that Alyssa Violet got. I actually like I did, and I told that to her because it's like
again like, once she sees the viral take, you can either choose to grow and learn from it or not. Like there's no point in just, that's the same exact way I feel about the like obviously she's wrong.
No, I don't think we're supposed to say
oh,
but
Ken, you're excited?
Well, I think Grace O'Malley said is like offensive.
Rats.
Redhead?
Yes.
She's a redhead.
It's just like, again, she obviously sees all of the like takes, and she can either learn from that and her wrongs. Like, I don't want to keep being a part of the problem of seeing like beating shit into the ground that's just hating on women when I'm like all for not doing that.
Yeah.
Like there's
but
just.
like we have to take accountability. Like we have been doing that.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the most valuable lessons I've learned recently that I just want to.
That's a long-lasting vape that she has, isn't it? Oh my God.
I got like a little bit too confident there for a second. You know what I mean? Like I feel like I was kind of on this, like, I mean, you know what I talk about all the time, like validation as currency. And like when I put out that Clinton series and it was like such an, like a massive amount of support and validation and attention, I got like, you know, my head got big, and all of a sudden I felt like I could just fucking, you know, I could talk shit about Alyssa. I could do this. I can do this. And like, I just got like this confidence that I didn't have before, and I needed to reel it back a bit.
Well,
I needed a humbling, and I got one.
That's the internet telltale story as big as time. When the pendulum swings so far that way, it almost always swings back the other way.
Yeah.
And that's why I've always said you can't place your validation in too much of the good or too much of the bad. And
I know it's something I've
so much
struggled
easier
with
said than
always.
done.
It's like it's something like I really am actively like working to reframe in my mind, but it's always been the theme of my life. Like attention and validation is the only thing I do anything for, and that's so embarrassing to say out loud, but it's the truth, and that's how I've gotten myself into this situation. That's how I've gotten myself, you know what I mean? Like every problem I've caused for myself has been
stemmed from that.
Because of that. And
Okay, we're going to leave it there. Okay, so let's talk about this. So I think that ultimately it was a missed opportunity that when Tana was on the podcast last week on her own, that she talked more about the actual topic at hand rather than when Brooke, who the topic is about, is there. I think that they probably should have saved it, sat down together and addressed it how Tana did the last week. Because I think it all kind of fell on Tana's shoulders, and therefore she got all the backlash for it, you know, not being perceived well. I completely agree with their points about women getting it a completely different standard to men. I think that is 100% true, factual. I think we can all agree on that. We've seen it time and time again in the media. We've seen it time and time again even in our small community of, you know, covering channels like this and how people cover stories between women and men. But also, I do kind of want to clarify that there is something really distasteful about kind of saying that when the topic at hand is you being called out for racism. I don't know. Again, they had to do this. The tour's coming up. It's starting very soon. Let's talk about it down below. I appreciate you being here. I will see you in my next one, and goodbye.